Hi, all. Apologies, I am out again today under the weather. I wanted to just quickly go over the Article 3 notes, and it should not take us very long. So I know some of us are, I think it might be only third period, is still on Article 2. So I will go over those, and then your guest teacher can skip that part in the video. I will leave a timestamp where to head for Article 3. So after I lecture quickly and you finish your notes, the guest teacher is going to play you two videos about the Supreme Court. So spoiler alert, the judiciary branch is the branch that is featured in Article 3 of the Constitution. Chromebooks should be closed during this time or blocked. You can get on the Chromebooks after we're done watching the videos and finishing our notes. But let's dive into it. So if your class is still on Article 2, Article 2 describes the job of the executive branch. So that is the president, the vice president, and the president's cabinet. What does Article 2 describe? It describes who qualifies to be president. You have to be 35 years old. You have to be born a U.S. citizen. So that's the main difference in the citizenship rules for this branch, that you have to be born a natural citizen of the U.S. The term for a presidency is 4 years, and the Constitution was amended so that only one person can serve 2 terms as president for a total of 8 years. It also lists the powers of the office of the president. It also lists what happens if a president misbehaves. And so this is the impeachment process. We'll kind of get into that a little bit more in the coming weeks. And then also the very intricate system we have in the US for how we elect a president, which is called the Electoral College system. Again, this is the system that is described on the big C-SPAN poster that's next to my door, if you're curious about what this is, how many votes per state every state gets, and you need 270 total votes to win the presidency. What is the overall job of the executive branch? Well, if the legislative branch, their job is to pass laws that meet the needs and wants of the people, of citizens of the U.S., the job of the executive branch is to carry out and to enforce those laws. That's a really big simplification, but that's the gist. So what are 2 specific duties given to the president? 2 specific duties. One is commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So the president, who is a civilian, that means a person who is not in the military. You are a civilian right now because you're not in the military. I'm a civilian. That civilian is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And that's a really also important check on military power. Another specific duty is presidents negotiate treaties with foreign nations. It's usually members of their cabinet as well. And this is also a simplification because presidents do a lot more. All right, let's start Article 3. So Article 3 creates the last of our branches of government that we haven't spoken about yet, and that is the judicial branch. The judicial branch. What is the responsibility of this branch of government? Let's jump back to the legislative branch. First, Article 1. Article 1, the legislative branch passes laws, creates laws that meet the needs and wants of citizens. Article 2, the executive branch, they enforce those laws that are passed. Article 3, in the judicial branch in the Supreme Court interprets the laws according to the Constitution that are passed by Congress, the representatives of the people, and they make sure that those laws follow the framework and the guidelines in the Constitution. And that sounds basic, but you can read this document 100,000 million different ways, and people do, which is why we have disagreements about what the Constitution means. Under Article 3, judges are appointed, and they're appointed by presidents. That's another check and balance on these two branches. So judges are appointed by presidents, and presidents, we know, they fall along the political ideology spectrum. So if you get a conservative president, it's very likely that the conservative president is going to appoint a conservative judge. If you have a liberal president, it's likely that that liberal president will appoint liberal judges. Judges on the Supreme Court, justices rather, we call them justices, they're not members of political parties, but they do hold political ideology. We can place them along the political ideology spectrum. Supreme Court justices stay on the bench until they resign, they retire usually, or they die sometimes in office. And that's happened a couple times within the last 7-8 years. It's a lifelong term. Unlike a House member with a 2-year term, a Senate member, or a senator with a 6-year term, a president with a 4-year term, if you serve on the Supreme Court, that is a lifelong term. As of 2023, when I'm filming this, there are 9 total justices on the Supreme Court. There are currently 6 justices that we would describe as having conservative political ideology, falling to the right. And there are 3 justices that fall, we would describe as having liberal ideology, that fall to the left. And that's it for Article 3. Before I leave you, I want to show you this infographic that I've posted on my daily agenda slide, just so you can look at who these justices are. This is according to Axios, and this was published earlier in 2020, I believe in June. And it talks about if we flip this political ideology on its side 90 degrees, I think it's 90 degrees, and we put the conservatives over here and the liberals over here, it looks like the one we talked about in class. So we can see that these are the 6 justices we would describe as being conservative justices. Clarence Thomas, he is the farthest right on the bench right now, the most conservative justice. Oops. John Roberts, he's considered to be like almost a centrist, almost a moderate. I mean, he's to the right, but he's like sometimes he makes others who fall farther to the right a little upset, because he tends to be a centrist and sometimes agrees with the liberal justices, but he is the most center leaning of the conservative justices. These are the 3 liberal justices. Now, this is not updated because Stephen Breyer, he retired, I think it was in June or May. I guess it was in June. From the bench. So he retired, and he was replaced by Joe Biden's appointee, Ketanji Brown Jackson. And because Joe Biden is a liberal, he appointed a liberal Supreme Court justice to that seat that Stephen Breyer left open. So she is the newest justice on the Supreme Court, and she is liberal. I don't know exactly where I would put her. I'm guessing somewhere between these 2 liberal justices, Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor. Sotomayor is definitely the farthest left-leaning justice right now. And yeah, I think that's it. We're going to talk a lot more about the Supreme Court in the coming weeks. And then the next 2 videos that you're about to watch, they are about how a case gets to the Supreme Court and how you become a Supreme Court justice. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.